This is the advanced requirement version of the video I did before, the basic requirements of the goalkeeper simulator. You'll see the differences there immediately. I've got 3 options now. Instead of just Bruno, I've got Neymar and Messi. Each of them have their own kind of weights. They tend to kick in different directions, and that's to adjust the parameters of the simulation. It's one of the advanced requirements there. Right, let's just do a quick run through to see the differences. Let's just start off by going to Neymar here. How many shots would I like to do? I'd like to do just 2 shots. So I'm going to go left, and then I'm going to go right. Shot number 2. Grand. So I'll just put in my name or whatever. It doesn't really matter. There you go, and you can see it makes this lovely table of data, and that's saved to the CSV, and then pandas reads this into a table. It's got a prediction down here. You can see human prediction based on the previous player data. You will probably dive left. That makes sense because you can see, look, if you look at the column of lefts, it's totaling them for 21 times, and it's comparing them to the middles and the rights and saying, look, most players who play this game tend to go left. So I think that's where you're going to go. And that is advanced requirement 3 there. It's making a future prediction. Okay, so, and then down here, there's also another little prediction part where it says, it says our club data scientist, well, actually it says Python, looking at how I made the stats. It says that the last 5 shots from Neymar were right, over, middle, over. So that's something you might do, is look at what a player had kicked in the last few games. And you'll see where that comes in a little bit. So it says you can open up the score chart, SVG. You click on it there. There's all of the scores. Some people are getting a minus because they've lost. And there's the CSV file with all the stats in it. The last thing I'll do is I'll just show you the simulator bit. And this is probably the nicest part of this program. If you do computer versus computer sim only here now, and say how many shots would you like, I'm gonna go for quite a lot. Let's do 400. Right, now you get to choose a celebrity goalkeeper for this what if scenario. What if scenarios are your advanced requirement 3. You get to choose Schmeichel. I don't know a lot about football, so I stopped watching when Eric Cantona judoed somebody in the 90s. And basically Man United were winning everything, so it got boring. So apparently they don't win anything now, so maybe I'll get back into it. There's this guy who I googled, Neuer. He's a newer goalkeeper than Schmeichel. And then there's Beyoncé, so you can probably guess which way she's gonna dive. Let's go for Beyoncé. And who's gonna play against Beyoncé? It's gonna be Beyoncé versus Bruno. Oh no, Beyoncé versus Messi? I don't know. Beyoncé versus Bruno sounds good. Okay, great. And they're gonna play 400 times. Press go, and you can see it flying down there. All right, 400 all done. So saves 339, goals 61. Bruno's shot pattern is he tends to hit things by the looks of it to the left, and Beyoncé dives. Oh, look at this, always to the left. What an observation. So you have 400-0-0. So no middles, no rights. There you go, and that's a prediction. So let's just talk about the advanced requirements for a moment. Extend the basic model so each time it runs, it stores data. That is storing it to the CSV file. As you saw, top scores, it's got some stats there, where it got the average and that sort of thing. Developed algorithms to perform statistical analysis. That's what we did. So, yeah, use the model to test what if scenarios and make future predictions. It's done all that. It's graphical format there for the graph. It's ticked all the boxes. Right. Let's just do a quick code talk through to understand how all this came about, so that you can take little chunks of this code that might help you with things. And one of the things I didn't show you, I suppose, is, I've done the validation function well, I've done a function, which is quite a difference from a previous video. So every time I do a little game or something like this, I'm just trying to show this range of techniques you can use to tackle the same problem. So before, I used a different way of doing it, but this time I'm actually making a function. And what this does is it kind of replaces the input. So if you had, say, x equals input, what is the question or whatever, that's what you normally do. And then you have an if, else. You can see what this does is it's a function. And this one says, if you're being asked for a number, keep doing this in a loop. So actually, the best way to the best way to explain this is to start in the middle, right? So this is the prompt that the user gets as normal, just like in an input. Yeah, it's just that I then try and turn it into a number, and that will work. But what if that's a letter? Well, it'll break it. That's why I try and do it. Okay, and if I try and do it, then great. But if it has an exception, if it hits a value error, I go print, that's not a number, and the while true asks them again. So please have another go, kind of. Else it just breaks out and returns whatever number they did. So similar down here, this is the exact same thing, except it's asking for words. So it's like just a upgraded version of your standard input. And let's look at it in action down here. I'm just going to scroll past. This is just initializing variables. There's nothing like shocking there. I have a flag here to tell me when I'm in sim mode. That's important because, as you saw, I ran through the program 400 times. So in sim mode, I do not want to be asking for an input from the person every time 400 times. So little flags like that are very good for turning off prompts. Let's look at it. The first prompt here that happens before kind of the loop. It says opponent choice. This I had this originally in the previous program as an input. It was equals input, blah, blah, blah. But now look what I've done. I've gone equals ask for words function, and then you just put the prompt in. So, okay, the auto tidy up format thing has made it look a bit weird. So I'm just going to put it back into its, I would say, how you would normally kind of see it. There you go. So it literally is just like, if I showed you that as an input, you wouldn't think anything of it, you know? You'd just be like, oh, that's just an input, yeah? So all I've done is I've just made a function that is a validated input called ask for words. And this is an input by all of them names. It's just that it freaks out and says no if they put in a number, because this is ask for words. And this number, the number one does the same thing. Okay, so if I say ask for num, it's a pretty cool thing. I found it on Stack Overflow, I think, a while ago. But like there's loads of different ways you can do validation. All right, and here's the other one. This again could be an input. How many shots? But I've used this lovely validation thing here. Check for numbers. All right, super. Let's go from the top. So if the opponent choice is computer, that's like a sim mode, I turn on the flag. I raise the sim flag. Sim mode is now true. That's important because later I might go, hey, while sim mode is true, do this. Or if sim mode is not true, do this. Okay, again, I'm going ask for words. It's nice, isn't it, that like you don't have to keep doing all of this validation every input, which is a lot of things. You see, it's a nice tidy way of doing it, just going ask for a number, and down here, ask for words. Again, I'm actually not a fan of the way auto format has formatted it all into 3 different lines. I mean, it's okay. So I mean, that is the same as that. It's just formatted in a weird way. So choose your goalie in this what if scenario, and there we go. Now comes the loop. I have to ask the prompt before the main loop, because, and you should do that too if you're going to do a simulation 400 times mode. Get all of the questions out of the way before you start the loop, because otherwise you're going to have a prompt where the user is going to be asking a question every single time 400. So I had to get those questions out of the way before I started the loop. Now, I'm just keeping a kind of a tab there of how many times they've shot. Then I say Neymar and Bruno and Messi. They just have different weightings, and each one of these numbers, one is an even odd. So like if I just did this, then Neymar here would have an even chance of going every way. I think this is left, middle, right, wide over, is it? Let's have a look up here. Yeah, wide over. It's these. Shot option list, as you can see. I've stated this down here. Shot option list. Grand. So then, same for the other two players. I don't need to talk about those. Two player is just the same, except I prompt the player. Actually, I should change this to ask for words. Oh, look at that. Beautiful. Auto suggest. There we go. There's an improvement right there. Shot list. Okay, yeah. It's basically whatever they type in, the other player. So then if the sim mode is true, as I set it up here, now I need to get my celebrity goalkeepers in. Beyoncé, the newer guy, and Peter Schmeichel. So you can see it's the exact same thing, except instead of a striker, it's a goalie. I've got a goal dive option because goalies generally don't go wide or over, so I had to do a different one, just the three of them, like middle, left, whatever. So there's only 3 instead of 5 outcomes here. But you could have in your thing anything you want, as many outcomes as you like. But you're not going to get any marks for having 90 different outcomes. So keep it reasonable. Just get your program done. Different stats, and you can see there is the source of Beyonce's to the left. So it's left, right. I don't know why. So 0 means you will never go in the middle. This means you will never go right, and 1 means even chance. So even this configuration here, 1 0 0, she will only ever go left. But because she goes to the left, I put in a 2. I don't know what that does. I'm not gonna think about it any more than that. Other than it's a pretty catchy song. If the celebrity thing is B, I'll just put in goalie name, just so I can refer to it in the narration later on, going player B, or it's just nicer to say Beyoncé. So, yeah, and I'm recording which way I want one variable coming out of this block, really, the keeper dive choice. Okay, so I don't want to repeat the thing 3 times, so I'm just going to assign whatever their dive choice is coming out of this becomes the keeper dive choice, and then I have to carry 1 variable on rather than carrying 3 variables on. Look, this is an else, right? So it says, let the player goalie pick if it's kind of your classic single player mode. So all up here was kind of the simulation mode, and this is just your single player goalie, what you're going to do if it's you against Messi or something like that. You take the first shot. I had to put this in because while it was in the code above, if the program didn't go down that route, then it would have never have taken this shot. And it has to be kind of different every time, you have to put that in inside the loop. If you did that outside the loop, it would basically, he'd shoot left, and it would just be left forever. This was a comparison problem I had because I liked the idea of just the user typing L and or and M because it's nice to play. The problem then is when I went to compare this variable, their dive choice, to the actual word left that was in the list. I think I explained this in the other previous video, but basically, like, the code in the comparison down here was saying keeper choice was L, first shot was left, therefore they're not the same. And you're like, no, L is left. What are you doing, Python? So I had to just put this in here to kind of correct that there. Right. So this is basically to say if they saved it. If the first shot, if it's over wide, they're gonna miss. So yeah, the goalie gets. I don't know why they get a point for the other guy missing. Maybe they just psychic energy put them off. There you go. If the only other outcome, I suppose, is CPU score, computer gets a point because they scored. This is just saving some stats for later, as the comment says, because part of the basic requirements are to kind of do some mean, mode, medium, those numbers. So I'm saving these like to the keeper dive choice. I want to know how many lefts there are, how many middles, and that's how I made that prediction of I noticed most people went left, things like that. So this is recording it for the keeper, and this is recording it for the striker. There's more options for the striker, of course, because you can go wide and over. Down here, it's just again showing some things, narrating it as it goes, having a little pattern. I found that I was just wondering what the pattern was, so I put it in. Like I just output it in. I didn't need it. None of this is necessary. I just liked putting it in because I just wanted to know what they were doing as a pattern. Right. If we're in sim mode now, so if we're not equal, this is not equal to true. So I had a problem where I was running it 400 times to do Beyoncé versus Messi or something like that, and then it said enter your score, and I was like, I didn't need to enter a score. It was just a what if scenario. I didn't win a game, so I don't need to be doing any of this show final score or top score if I'm in simulation mode. So if I'm not in simulation mode, I must be in single players or two players. So yeah, it is totally appropriate then to write in your name for the top score. This is the CSV block, which writes any data you want. All of these variables get made into columns and they're written to a CSV. Just the thing to be aware of is there's 3 different modes for writing a CSV. Well, there's OR for reading it, W for overwriting it every time, and A for adding on a column. I want to adding on a row, I should say. Add a row to these. These are the column headings, I suppose. Always don't forget to close f.close your file. If you do not have this thing, it will create a CSV file, but when you go into it, it will be blank. This is my stats, and I my favorite thing actually about I kind of had done pandas ages ago, but I really like the way you can just display a table of data. It's really, really nice. Now, so if you want to display anything from your CSV, this is the code you need here, right? You just put in your column names, and then you go data. That's all of your data in the CSV is equal to pandas.read. Just read your CSV, okay? This can skip a title row if you can skip different rows if you want. And yeah, so there you go. And this prints off your table. It's really nice. Now, I did want to kind of figure out, I could by looking at the table, and if I just pop back to the table for just for a moment. The console, I just want to run a game once to show you something, because you're probably going to have a similar thing. If I just go Neymar, 2 shots, left, okay, and whatever your score is. When you tot up these columns like lefts, middles, and rights, I then had to find, okay, well, look, I'm adding them up here at the end, but then I want to say, like, which is the highest value of these things down here of lefts, middles, and rights. Like, what's the top one? Because that's what I need to know. Like, where are most people going? So I have to find a nifty way of doing that. The problem is if I wrote to a list or I'd either have to do a million variables, like quite a lot of variables names. If I was thinking of adding it to a list, but the problem, of course, is then if you then sort your list, you have to remember. Wait, was the number 23, was that the lefts or is that now rights when it's swap position? So the pure number alone, when it gets moved around in a list or a string, it lacks any context and you forget which number you're talking about. Was that the lefts or the middles? So this is why I decided then to use a database type thing. I mean, look, this is your advanced requirement, so I suppose, and yeah. I wouldn't normally use dictionary stuff unless I really had to, in a leaving cert example. But I thought I'd go all out and throw in a little bit of dictionary stuff there. So let me just show you what this is. It's this curly brackets. A dictionary type, it's similar to like Firebase, like room 27, 27 degrees. Room 41 is 3 degrees. It's pairs of data. Joe, €9. Little pairs like that. So you go, your dictionary is like a list, except it's just curly brackets. But I love it. It's like these little two bits of data stick together as buddies. They always have a name and a number. Now look, sometimes they call like keys and values, and they're called lots of different things. But that's what they look like, and you've seen them before, but you wouldn't really use them an awful lot in Python. But what's pretty nice is that like I was able to put in here, see where it says sum of all the data in the left column. What a cool little thing. That's panda work in there. Look, that tiny, like 3 measly words, and it can add up everything in the left column into a variable. Okay, so that, I don't know what that was like. That was like 23 or something like that. And then this was less. I think the left was the most popular one, thanks to Beyoncé. So once I had them in a dictionary, I was able to get the max value in the dictionary. Okay, and I was all you do is you go popular value. You can snip away this code if you want. If you are using dictionaries, it's very handy to be able to read the top value or the minimum value in a dictionary. So you just change that to min, I suppose, if you want to go the other way. And then I was like, okay, I can do that, but like if I do that with a list, I would lose the actual name. But hey, it's not in a dictionary. It actually works great because I can then go, okay, that one that was 23, what was that one again? Yeah, it was left. And if you just go get the actual key is another word for name, the little name that came along with a number. So it holds on to that piece of data along with the number. So I was able to say the top choice was left, not just the top choice was the one that was 23. Cool. And that's why I ended up using dictionaries, and who knows, maybe you'll get programming marks for having dictionaries in it. Maybe not, but it was a sensible thing to use in this situation, right? And that's why I said there I used like my variables that I got here from the dictionaries. Cool. You will need to use dictionaries if you ever take values from Firebase down into Python. They arrive in the door as dictionary values, as pairs, right? So that's generally the only time you have to deal with them in a kind of like 5th and 6th year scenario, but it'd be rare. So okay, great. And what you can do with pandas as well is it takes all of your stuff here, your shot data, and puts it into a nice list. And then I can just say, well, like, what's the biggest one? What's the smallest one? What's the average? And I was able to like sort it from least to bottom. I could as well have used some, I don't know, I probably wouldn't end up doing this tree. This is just a list, right? So you're sorting a list, and then you can say the first value in the list, which is that guy number 0. The last value on the list was that guy -1. Statistics.mean of the list, statistics.mode of the list, statistics dot, and literally if you just go to Python and just go statistics module Python, you'll find it. And look at all, they've got W3 schools. Look at all this. You want to know what the harmonic mean is? Have you ever thought about what the harmonic mean of Beyonce's like dives in football is? I don't know what it is. I'm not sure what harmonic mean means. But look it up, and why not whack it in your what about the variance? I kind of know what the standard deviation is. The mode, just watch out, because sometimes there is no mode. But there you go. Look, you can put in all those things there if you want. It's super easy. Why not? And then just look up what they are and put in a line explaining, I suppose. I don't know what the harmonic mean is, but I know how to do it in Python. Harmonic_mean or whatever it was. So okay, then so I just say for next time I noticed that it was the opponent name and his shot list, because all of these were done. If you go back up here to the top and look, they actually, every time Neymar or Bruno or Messi take a shot, they actually take 5 shots, and I just happened to take their first shot as the only one I counted. I think I counted it down here. I got their shot list, of which there are 5 items. I took the 0th item and I said that was their first shot. I'm using their first shot for everything here, but actually technically they took 5 shots, although no one really mentioned the other 4 until now. And then I can use it and say, hey, they actually took like 5 shots, and here's the pattern. They tend to go like, this guy tends to go left, this guy tends to hit it wide. I wanted to just give that to the user as a hint, as like, if you're gonna play the game, I'm just saying Messi always does this. It's classic Messi. So that was just a nice little easy way of doing a prediction thing. Finally, okay, well that's just doing your bar chart thing for Pygal. So I needed for Pygal, you need kind of a list of values on your bar chart. So the way I got a list of values is I just used the Pygal, the pandas. This data is what I got from pandas. Anything referring to data down here, data, see all that data, that's all pandas. Pandas is class. It's really good. Lovely. And there's my bar chart, horizontal bar chart. You put it in your title, it's pretty self-explanatory. And I mentioned this in the other basketball video. This is a messy 2 lines. There's a pun. But basically, if you want the top 5 values, you go for each name. Well, you could go for X in range 5. It would give you the top 5 values. The problem with doing that, though, is, it's actually the other way. If you say top 5 values, and there is not 5 values in your spreadsheet already, it may give you an error. And actually, sometimes when you do these kind of programs, and there's no score in this spreadsheet, like they're fresh programs, nobody's played them yet, you tend to find errors that you didn't know were in there. It all works great right now. Like if I go into this, it like on the pandas table here, I get no errors. But actually, I'm pretty sure if I delete like all of this data and start over, I'm not even sure I fixed all the errors there. Anyway, don't check. I just won't mention that. So that's pretty much it. What was this again? You could open it. Yeah, okay. I think there was one thing that didn't work particularly well in REPL or Toddy, was something about rendering where it didn't have permissions. The thing was one of them, I think it didn't want to. I think REPL did not have permission to open up. That's what it was. If you do on Thonny, you can open in browser, render in browser on Thonny. You cannot do that in REPL, because if you could do that in REPL, I could write a program that would open your browser and then go to your bank and then IBAN me some money. So for that very good reason, you're not allowed to do that from the browser, but you could do that in. And but actually, as you saw, it was pretty cool. Actually, I was very surprised to see that you could actually just click on the thing here, like as a hyperlink. I've never seen that. It's nice. So that is it. I'm not going to do code that from a blank page, I think, because I said it's the advanced stuff. So look, that's it. Well, but also because even describing it now is taking me 29 minutes and 14 seconds. So. But there you go. So I think the next thing I might have a go doing, it would be more like an RPG type game, like a Dungeons and Dragons something. So yeah, that might be the next one. All right, thanks.